Welcome to today's deep dive. We're jumping into something today that, honestly, is going to affect you no matter what industry you are in.
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah, because the last 2 decades or so, building a successful career or even a breakthrough company, it really came down to one heavily guarded, super scarce resource.
Right, your ability to execute.
Exactly, your ability to execute. Like, if you had the coding chops to build the software, or you had the operational grit to manage some massive global supply chain, you won.
Yeah, execution was your moat.
Right, it was the ultimate defensive wall around your professional value.
Correct.
But we are crossing this wild threshold right now where artificial intelligence is systematically driving the cost of that execution down to basically
What?
zero.
Near zero, yeah, which changes everything.
It really does. So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack how the fundamental rules of what makes you actually valuable as a professional, a founder, a leader, are being completely rewritten right in front of us.
And we are looking at this total inversion of the classic business playbook through two really incredible sources today.
Yeah, we've got some great material to work with.
We really do. First, we have an insider interview from the Chillapalooza Summit with Brett Jansen.
Right.
He is a healthcare go-to-market strategist, and he is out there using these advanced AI architectures to just completely overhaul corporate revenue engines.
He's down in the trenches doing the actual work.
Exactly. It's a very straight-level tactical view. And then we're pairing his perspective with a more macro view from Christina.
Who is an entrepreneurship professor at Harvard Business School, right?
Yes, she recently spoke with the Knowledge Business Institute, and she is sitting in this unique observation deck.
Yeah.
She's watching the most highly credentialed elite students in the world basically panic, adapt, and try to build companies as the whole foundation shifts underneath them.
And just to set the tone here, I think it's important to note that this deep dive isn't about the whole doomsday AI replacing humans narrative.
Right. No, not at all.
It's about how AI is changing the very definition of what human skills are actually valuable.
Exactly. So let's actually start with that panic at Harvard Business School because it perfectly captures this transition.
Yeah, let's get into it.
For a very, very long time, the absolute gospel in Silicon Valley, and really in business schools everywhere, was this mantra. Ideas are a dime a dozen, execution is everything.
Oh yeah, I've heard that a million times.
Right. The assumption was always, hey, everyone has a great idea for an app in the shower, but the person who actually builds it, well, they're the genius.
But Christina is telling her students to throw that mantra completely out the window now.
She really is. Because think about it. If everyone on Earth has access to the exact same frontier models, like the same Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the same GPT-4 architecture.
Right, the exact same baseline digital tools.
Exactly. Then theoretically, everyone can execute the exact same software build.
Hmm.
The barrier to entry for making a product or, generating a financial model, it has essentially vanished.
It's just gone.
Yeah. And the underlying logic here requires a hard look at what execution actually meant historically.
Right, like what were we actually paying people for?
Right. Execution was essentially a proxy for overcoming friction.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Overcoming friction.
Yeah, so writing code meant overcoming the friction of learning syntax. Launching a marketing campaign meant overcoming the friction of copywriting and design and media buying.
Right, it was hard work.
Generative AI fundamentally removes that friction. When you have large language models that can just instantly write Python scripts or debug a server or generate polished copy, the friction goes away.
So if the ability to execute the task is completely democratized, if everyone can do it, then the new mode has to be something else.
Exactly. The defensive wall around your career has to be proprietary insight.
What Christina calls the human edge.
The human edge, yes. Your value is no longer your ability to just take the code. It is your 20 years of deeply specific sector experience.
Or your access to unique offline data that generic internet models have just never seen. Okay, I want to make sure we are really grasping the scale of this shift. Let's try a practical analogy.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine if tomorrow, every single person in the world suddenly received a world-class, completely free ghostwriter.
Okay, wow, that's a powerful image.
Right. Overnight, everyone has this literary genius sitting at their desk, ready to type out grammatically perfect, beautifully structured prose.
So everyone can instantly write a pristine book.
Exactly. Suddenly, your ability to spell or format or structure a narrative arc Doesn't make you special anymore.
Because the ghostwriter does it for free.
Right. The only differentiator left, the only thing that dictates whether your book actually sells or fails, is whether you actually have an original, compelling story to tell.
Oh, I love that.
Your unique worldview, the specific pain you've experienced, the nuances of your life, that becomes the only asset of value.
While the actual typing itself becomes essentially worthless.
Exactly. The execution is free.
And you know, that ghostwriter analogy maps perfectly onto how the venture capital world is being forced to adapt right now.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, for decades, VCs have relied on three classic questions when evaluating a founder who's pitching them.
Okay, what are they?
Why you? Why now? And is it big enough?
The classic VC trifecta.
Right. And historically, the answer to that first question, the
Okay.
why you, it was basically a showcase of brute execution force.
Like, I'm going to work 100 hours a week and smash through walls.
Yes, exactly. A founder would say, I am a 10x engineer, or I know how to recruit a massive sales team and just drive them to total exhaustion.
Right. It's all about proving you are a relentless execution machine.
But today, if you answer why you, because I can build it quickly, they will literally laugh you out of the room.
Because every founder can build it quickly using AI now.
Exactly. So the bar has moved from can you build it to why do you specifically have the right to win this market?
Right. So what does a good why you answer even sound like today then?
It sounds like because I spent 15 years running logistics for a Midwestern cold storage trucking company.
Oh, okay. Highly specific.
It's super specific. It's saying, I know the exact human friction points that cause spoilage. I know the union regulations inside and out, and I have deep personal relationships with the 50 key facility managers in this space.
Wow. Yeah. That is lived experience. You can't just scrape that from Wikipedia.
No, you can't. And that relational capital, that deep domain expertise, that's what's valuable. The value has moved entirely from the hands to the head.
Okay, but hold on. Let's unpack this a bit more.
Sure.
If we follow this logic,
Yeah.
that execution is essentially free, and AI acts as this incredibly capable ghostwriter or coder,
Mm-hmm.
how does this actually play out in the real world?
What do you mean?
Well, when you drop these tools into a normal workforce, the natural instinct is to assume that, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Oh,
Like, if you give a mediocre employee the most advanced AI tool in the world, do they suddenly just become a superstar? Do they automatically get better?
that is the million-dollar question. And the data on that is actually deeply counterintuitive. Yeah. This brings us to a fascinating study mentioned by Christina, conducted by her colleague at Harvard, Rem Koning.
Okay, what did he do?
He ran a controlled experiment in Kenya with local entrepreneurs. He basically gave a cohort of these business owners access to powerful AI tools, but, and this is key, he intentionally did not give them heavy-handed direction or strict playbooks.
Oh, so just a total Wild West deployment. Here's the tool, figure it out.
Exactly, an open sandbox to observe natural adoption.
So what did the numbers actually show?
Well, for the entrepreneurs who were already operating at a very high level,
Yeah.
the ones who ran their businesses with strict discipline, who had strong baseline business
The
judgment,
ones who already knew what they were doing.
right, they had a deep, nuanced understanding of their local market. For them, the AI acted as a massive tailwind.
Makes sense.
They saw a 10 to 15% improvement in their overall business performance.
Wow, 10 to 15% is huge.
It's massive. They were using the models to run complex pricing simulations, optimize their delivery routing based on local traffic patterns, and scale up their customer service.
So they basically applied the AI to accelerate sophisticated strategies they already understood.
Exactly.
Okay, that part tracks perfectly with the ghostwriter analogy.
Yeah.
It helps the good storyteller write 2 brilliant books a year instead of 1.
Right.
But what happened to the bottom tier of that cohort, the struggling ones?
Well, for the entrepreneurs who were historically underperforming, those with weak business judgment, chaotic operations, or just a shallow understanding of their customers, giving them the exact same AI tools actively damaged their businesses.
Wait, really?
Yes. They saw an 8% decrease in performance compared to their baseline.
Okay, I have to jump in here and push back on the mechanics of that 8% drop,
Go for it.
because here's where it gets really interesting but also confusing to me. Okay. I understand a smart tool making a smart person faster. But how does a super smart intelligence tool make a human being actively worse at their job?
It's a great question.
Like, if I'm terrible at advanced calculus and you hand me a graphing calculator, I don't become 8% worse at math. The calculator gives me the precise, correct answer regardless of my baseline skill.
Right, right.
So is the AI just confidently giving them bad advice? Or is it just helping them execute their own bad decisions at a faster rate?
It's the latter, but the core misunderstanding here is treating an AI model like a calculator.
How so?
A calculator is a deterministic machine. You input an equation, and there is one mathematically absolute output.
Right. 2 plus 2 is always 4.
Exactly. But a large language model is a probabilistic engine. It predicts the next most statistically likely word based on the context it is given.
Okay.
It is not generating truth. It is generating plausible-sounding patterns. Because of this, AI operates strictly as an amplifier, not a magic wand.
An amplifier. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if your baseline judgment is chaotic, the AI will happily and very quickly scale your chaos.
Oh, wow. So if a struggling entrepreneur doesn't understand the nuance of their local customer base,
They will use the AI to generate 100 generic, totally tone-deaf marketing emails, and then they'll automate the sending of those emails to their entire list all at once.
oh no.
Right, and by doing so, they alienate their entire market in an afternoon. That's a level of brand destruction that would have taken them months to achieve manually.
That is terrifying. Just scaling bad habits.
Exactly. If you lack the judgment to define what good actually looks like, you cannot perform quality control on the AI's output.
You just blindly trust it.
Right, you outsource your judgment to a probabilistic engine, which means you are operating your business on the machine's median average output. And a median average output rarely builds a durable business.
This connects directly to Brett Jansen's philosophy on the ground, doesn't it?
Oh, perfectly.
Because Brett is out there consulting for heavily funded healthcare startups and massive private equity-backed organizations.
Right, he sees the reality of this every day.
And he noted this massive trend where executives simply buy thousands of licenses for ChatGPT Enterprise, deploy them organization-wide, and basically just issue a mandate to be more productive.
Just handing it out like candy.
Yeah. They treat artificial intelligence like a standard Microsoft Office update, assuming the presence of the tool will organically solve their revenue problems.
Which is just a recipe for scaled mediocrity. Deploying intelligence without architectural structure just doesn't work.
Right.
Brett's approach is the exact opposite of this. He actually ignores the AI completely at the beginning of an engagement.
Really? He doesn't even use it at first.
Nope. He looks for the human friction first. He uses the classic eternal war between sales and marketing to illustrate this.
Oh, a tale as old as time.
Right. Marketing departments constantly point to the volume of MQL's marketing qualified leads they generate.
And sales departments constantly complain that those leads are absolute garbage and refuse to work them.
Exactly. Brett actually jokes that he would happily kill the concept of the MQL entirely because it creates so much toxic internal friction.
Which, I mean, that is such a brilliant observation because the MQL is often just this completely arbitrary digital metric. Like
Right.
someone accidentally clicked a link in a newsletter or they downloaded a PDF white paper just to get past a paywall.
And marketing gets to ring a bell and count it as a huge win.
Exactly. But the sales rep knows that person has absolutely zero intent to purchase a $100,000 software package.
Zero intent.
So instead of just handing ChatGPT to the marketing team and saying, hey, write catchier emails to get more clicks, Brett comes in as the human architect.
Yes.
He conducts deep, qualitative interviews with the leadership team, the highest performing account executive, the marketing directors. He gathers all this messy, ego-driven, qualitative human friction.
All the real context.
Right. And only then does he use AI, specifically Claude, which I know we will dig into later, to synthesize hundreds of pages of those transcripts to pinpoint the exact structural breakdown in the pipeline.
Notice the sequence of operations there, though. Brett supplies the judgment first.
Right.
He defines the parameters of the problem space. The AI is merely processing and structuring the unstructured data he curated based on his proprietary experience as a former chief revenue officer.
He's the architect.
Exactly. Once he identifies the bottleneck, like, say he discovers that the sales reps are fundamentally lacking the technical product knowledge they need to confidently do their own outbound prospecting.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. He doesn't just tell them to use AI, he architects a specific AI workflow to generate highly technical, custom sales enablement one-pagers for the reps. He designs the solution, and the AI simply executes his blueprint.
Okay, so if judgment is the only real differentiator left,
Yeah.
and if throwing generic AI at a legacy org chart just scales bad habits, how on earth does a modern company actually structure its human workforce?
It's the existential question right now.
It really is. We are looking at a scenario where middle management, which has always been the traditional safe career path for a freshly minted MBA, is facing a total crisis.
Yeah, the anxiety at places like HBS is very real.
The students Christina teaches are looking at a future where the job of simply moving information from the strategy tier down to the execution tier is entirely automated.
And honestly, that anxiety is highly justified if you view organizational structures as static. But Christina introduces a framework for the new org chart that clarifies exactly how human roles are shifting.
Okay, what does this new org chart look like?
She points to two distinct new archetypes that are going to dominate the modern enterprise. She calls them the T-shaped expert and the M-shaped generalist.
T-shaped and M-shaped. Let's break those down.
Sure. Let's examine the T-shaped individual contributor first. The vertical line of the T represents their deep, proprietary vertical expertise.
That vertical line is the judgment mode we've been talking about, right?
Right. Exactly. This is non-negotiable now because, as we established, you need deep domain knowledge to evaluate the AI's output.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Well, if you are a structural engineer, you absolutely must understand the core physics of load-bearing concrete deeply enough to spot a hallucination in the AI's architectural render before the building collapses.
Right, you can't just trust the AI to build a bridge.
Exactly. But what makes them different from a traditional expert is the horizontal bar of the T. That is the new requirement.
What does the horizontal bar represent?
Because the AI is handling the laborious, time-consuming execution of the technical tasks, running the stress tests, drafting the CAD models, the expert can no longer just hide in a silo doing calculations all day.
Oh, they have free time now.
Right, and they are now required to operate horizontally across the organization.
Cross-functional work.
Yes. That structural engineer must use AI tools to interface directly with the global supply chain team to check real-time material costs and communicate seamlessly with the legal team on zoning compliance.
So the AI frees them from the execution of their vertical, forcing them to become cross-functional communicators.
Precisely. That is the T-shaped expert.
That makes a lot of sense for the specialized individual contributor.
Yeah.
But what about the manager? What happens to the person whose entire job was overseeing 5 junior employees?
They must evolve into the M-shaped generalist. This is the new management paradigm.
M-shaped, okay.
Instead of just coordinating a team of junior human workers, their role is to architect and manage systems of autonomous AI agents.
Wow, okay. Managing agents instead of people.
Exactly. They are the ones defining the overarching workflows, establishing the data permissions, connecting the API endpoints between different departmental tools, and setting the rigorous quality control metrics.
That sounds highly technical.
It is, but managing an AI agent actually requires the exact same core leadership competencies as managing a human.
Really? Like what?
Things like delegation, clear communication, strategic alignment. But it requires a level of hyper-specific instruction that human management never really demanded.
Right, because AI fundamentally lacks human intuition.
Exactly. It has zero common sense.
Like if you tell a Hume junior designer, hey, make this presentation pop for the board meeting, they rely on a lifetime of social context to know you mean they should adjust the contrast, maybe enlarge the key metrics, add a sleek graphics.
Read between the lines.
Right. But if you tell a probabilistic LLM to make it pop, it might literally insert the word pop onto every single slide.
Or render the entire presentation in neon pink.
Exactly. The M-shaped generalist has to explicitly engineer the context, the boundaries, and the step-by-step logic.
Which is exactly the issue. You cannot rely on unstated assumptions anymore. The M-shaped manager must define the exact constraints of the universe the AI operates within.
Think about what this means for you if you are leading a team today. It sounds like being a manager today is remarkably similar to being a film director, where all your actors are literal robots.
Oh, that is a fantastic analogy.
Right? Like you never have to worry about them forgetting their lines. They have perfect, instantaneous memory retrieval.
But you have to provide them with flawlessly precise stage directions.
Exactly. You have to say, walk exactly 3 paces to the mark, turn 45 degrees to the camera, and smile at precisely 20% intensity.
Because if you leave any ambiguity in the script, they will just confidently walk straight into a prop wall and keep marching in place until their battery dies.
Yes. You are no longer managing effort, you are directing logic.
That visualization captures the day-to-day reality perfectly. And we can actually see the ultimate manifestation of this M-shaped generalist in Brett Jansen's own career trajectory.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Brett's business model.
He completely revolutionized his consulting business by adopting this exact architecture.
How so?
Well, previously, he operated on a fractional CRO model, embedding himself in a company for 2 or 3 days a week.
Okay.
It was lucrative, but his revenue was strictly capped by the physical hours in a week. He was constrained by human physics. He couldn't clone himself to take on more clients.
Right, you only have so much time, so what did he change?
He rebuilt his entire service delivery model. He transitioned away from those long-term fractional roles and moved to hyper-condensed 4-week go-to-market sprints.
4 weeks, that's fast.
Very fast. He comes into a sprawling enterprise, audits their personnel, their operational processes, and their tech stack. He conducts rapid-fire interviews with key stakeholders.
Gathering all that human friction again.
Exactly. He then takes all of that unstructured, complex human intelligence and feeds it into a heavily engineered AI environment, essentially multiplying his own analytical capacity.
Wow.
The AI synthesizes the data and helps him generate a comprehensive, highly customized 90-day turnaround plan. By acting as the M-shaped architect orchestrating these AI agents, he completed 22 of these massive enterprise sprints last year.
22.
Yes, and with an astonishing 70% converting into long-term retainer clients.
That is insane scale for one person.
He is effectively delivering the output of a traditional 10-person McKinsey consulting pod entirely by himself.
That is wild. And his perspective on hiring really highlights the permanence of this shift, I think.
It really does.
During the interview, when discussing how he might scale his own firm, Brett was brutally explicit. He openly stated he would strongly prefer to hire an AI agent over a junior marketer.
I mean, that is a chilling statement for anyone currently polishing their resume for an entry-level marketing position.
It really should serve as a massive structural warning.
Absolutely.
Because the baseline execution tasks that traditionally defined a junior marketing role drafting social media copy, formatting email newsletters, pulling basic analytics reports, those are now zero-cost commodities.
They just aren't valuable anymore.
But Brett added a crucial second half to his hiring philosophy. He also said he prefers to hire a strategist over a creator.
Right.
He isn't looking for someone who is incredibly skilled at making a polished video or designing a beautiful graphic. He's looking for the M-shaped director who possesses the strategic judgment to know why a specific piece of content will move the revenue needle and who can architect the AI systems to actually generate it.
The strategist is the director we talked about. The creator is just the camera equipment.
Yes.
And in a world where AI is a world-class camera, you desperately need the director to tell the camera where to point and what story to capture.
But actually giving those precise stage directions and being a highly effective M-shaped generalist requires a tactical setup that goes way beyond just typing into a chat box.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings us to the most actionable part of Brett's playbook, what he calls layering intel.
This is pure tactical gold.
It really is. Brett revealed that he personally carries around $4,000 a month in tech debt as a solo operator.
Just for software subscriptions.
Yeah. Half of that covers his core business operations, but the other $2,000 is purely an R&D budget. He pays for nearly every major frontier model, API access tier, and AI platform just to stress test them in his own private incubator.
Figuring out what actually works in enterprise environments before he recommends it to a client.
Exactly. And his loudest, most urgent piece of advice from all that testing is this: you have to stop treating large language models like basic search engines.
This is the single most pervasive point of failure in corporate AI adoption today. People just don't get it. They don't. People approach a tool like ChatGPT the same way they approach Google. They type in a simple query such as, write a sales email to a VP of finance, and they expect a magical, ready-to-send asset.
Right.
But as we discussed, an LLM is a probabilistic generator, not an information retrieval system. If you give it a generic prompt, it will generate the most statistically average generic response possible.
Right. So Brett's methodology is a masterclass in establishing rigorous context instead. He uses this layered approach to prompting that fundamentally alters the quality of the output.
Let's actually break down the mechanics of this layered approach, because this is where the theoretical concepts turn into practical leverage. How does Brett actually build a prompt architecture?
Well, he never starts by asking for the email or the final deliverable.
Never.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
He starts at the extreme macro level.
Mm-hmm.
He uses a platform called Perplexity for his first layer.
Okay, why perplexity?
Perplexity is uniquely suited for this because it utilizes ARG retrieval augmented generation. It actively browses the live internet, synthesizes current reports, and critically, it provides citations for its data. So Brett uses Perplexity to conduct a McKinsey-level macroeconomic analysis of his client's specific industry.
Okay, give me an example.
If his client sells healthcare coordination software, he asks Perplexity to map out the current regulatory headwinds, the major demographic shifts in patient care, and the overarching financial trends impacting hospital budgets this quarter.
Got it. So that establishes the macro universe. He builds the playing field first.
Exactly. Once he has the macro trends, he moves to layer 2, which is the micro-psychological profile of the buyer.
Okay, layer 2.
He takes that macro data and asks the AI to map out the specific human beings operating within that universe.
Like a persona?
Sort of, but he doesn't ask for a generic persona. He asks for the deep career drivers of the target buyer. He will prompt the AI to define exactly what the VP of Finance needs to achieve in the next 6 months to secure a promotion.
Oh, that's smart.
And more importantly, he asks the AI to define the VP's deepest professional fears. What specific failure state would cause them to get fired or burned by a software vendor?
This is such a critical pivot. He isn't just looking for business pain points. He is trying to psychologically map out what that VP of Finance is worrying about while staring at the ceiling at 3:00 a.m. on a Monday.
Exactly the distinction. It is about emotional resonance, not just feature matching.
Right.
So once he has the macro environment and the psychological profile, he introduces layer 3, the client's actual product capabilities and pitch deck.
The solution.
Right. He forces the AI to overlay the client's specific software solution directly onto the neuroses and ambitions of the buyer, entirely within the context of the current market headwinds.
So when he finally pulls the trigger and asks the AI to generate the actual outbound content.
It isn't writing a standard, "I hope this email finds you well. Please buy my software template." It is generating a hyper-tuned, structurally sound narrative that speaks directly to the VP's career survival. Brett mentioned that when his clients finally get these executives on a discovery call, the prospects often say, "I feel like I already know your team because your initial outreach felt like it was written by someone who has sat in my chair."
That is the power of layered context. It creates the illusion of deep empathy and consultative understanding, simulated at massive scale by the AI, but entirely architected by Brett's human judgment.
But I have to challenge the uniqueness of this, though.
Okay, challenge it.
Because if you spend any time on LinkedIn or in corporate sales, you hear the phrase hyper-personalized outbound constantly. It is a massive buzzword.
Oh, everywhere.
But the reality for anyone on the receiving end of these emails is that hyper-personalized usually just means a bot scraped my LinkedIn profile, noticed I went to a specific university, and generated an email that says, "Hey, go Bulldogs. Great weather in your city today. By the way, do you want to buy my enterprise cloud architecture?"
Oh, the worst.
It is incredibly transparent, lazy, and frankly annoying.
It really is.
So how is Brett's highly engineered, layered method actually mechanically different from the sophisticated spam we are all drowning in?
Well, it is the difference between knowing a piece of trivia about someone and understanding their structural reality.
Oh, okay.
The spam you are referencing relies on surface-level data scraping. It substitutes personalization like knowing your college mascot or your recent job change for actual relevance.
Right. Relevance is knowing my operational pain.
Exactly. Brett's layered method ignores the trivia entirely. He doesn't care if the AI knows the CFO's alma mater.
He doesn't care about the Bulldogs.
Nope. He trains the AI to understand that this specific CFO is currently terrified of a new data compliance regulation dropping next quarter. And the AI's output demonstrates precisely how the product mitigates that specific regulatory risk.
Right. Mentioning a mascot is a cheap party trick.
Exactly. While demonstrating how to navigate a compliance nightmare is consultative problem solving.
It is the profound difference between a vendor knowing my name and a partner knowing my problems.
Very well put.
But to pull this off at scale, across multiple clients, without the AI losing the plot or going off-brand or hallucinating features that don't exist, Brett requires a rigid, structural anchor. And his secret weapon here is fascinating.
It really is.
He uses a single GitHub repository as the ultimate source of truth for a company's identity.
Now, for those who might not live in the engineering world, GitHub is a platform traditionally used by software developers for version control.
Right?
It stores code, tracks changes, and ensures multiple developers are working from the exact same foundational blueprint. Brett has completely co-opted this engineering tool for marketing and brand strategy.
Which is brilliant.
He places all of the company's approved messaging, their tone of voice guidelines, their specific AI system prompts, and their product limitations into a single, immutable GitHub repository.
But why go through the trouble of using a developer tool instead of just, a shared Google Doc?
Because a Google Doc is dynamic and easily corrupted by human error.
Anyone can just jump in and delete a paragraph.
Exactly. By using a repository, when Brett deploys an AI agent to write an email sequence or analyze a sales transcript, he hard codes the agent to draw its foundational context exclusively from that locked, vetted source of truth.
It acts as a set of strict guardrails.
Yes. It prevents the probabilistic engine from spontaneously inventing a new software feature to make a sale, or adopting a casual tone that violates the brand's corporate guidelines.
It is the ultimate M-shaped management technique, providing an unbreakable script for the robot actors.
Exactly.
Speaking of those robot actors, we have to talk about the tools themselves because Brett dropped a very spicy, heavily debated take during his interview.
Oh, I know what you're going to bring up.
When the host asked him point blank whether he preferred OpenAI's ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude for his enterprise workflows, he didn't even hesitate.
No, we did not.
He emphatically chose Claude and then explicitly called ChatGPT trash for these specific go-to-market applications.
It is a provocative statement, but it is rooted in deep technical realities that advanced practitioners are currently navigating.
Okay, unpack that for us.
It is important to understand that these frontier models are not monolithic. They have distinct architectural personalities and very different behavioral strengths.
Right.
For the type of work Brett is doing, which involves deep synthesis, processing massive amounts of messy, unstructured textual data like transcripts of hour-long leadership interviews, and adhering strictly to complex, multi-layered system instructions, many power users find Anthropic's Claude to be vastly superior.
Why is that? What makes Claude better for this?
Claude typically possesses a larger, more reliable context window. That means it can remember and process more information in a single prompt without losing the thread.
Oh, okay.
Furthermore, GPT models have often been criticized recently for getting lazy and complex workflows. They might drop instructions or summarize too aggressively when asked to synthesize large data sets.
Oh, I've definitely noticed that. It just skips over things.
Right. Claude tends to adhere more rigorously to the structural constraints placed upon it, which is exactly why Brett prefers it for heavy architectural lifting.
It is a constantly shifting landscape, which is exactly why Brett spends $2,000 a month just testing tools. But it proves that the specific AI platform you choose is just as critical as the prompt architecture you design.
Oh, completely.
So we have this vivid picture of a single individual, Brett, armed with a carefully architected tech stack, a GitHub repository, and Claude, effectively doing the work of a massive, multi-tiered consulting firm.
A one-man army.
This level of extreme individual empowerment leads us directly into the macro implications. Because if a solo consultant can achieve this level of scale, what is happening to actual startup companies? How is the fundamental DNA of company formation changing?
The ripple effects of this technological leverage are reshaping the entire macroeconomic ecosystem of venture capital and entrepreneurship.
Let's go back to Christina's observations at HBS.
Right. She highlights a profound behavioral shift in how elite students approach building a company. Historically, if an MBA student with a brilliant business background identified a massive market opportunity but lacked a computer science degree, they faced an insurmountable wall.
They were stuck.
They would spend their entire 2-year program desperately attending networking mixers, pitching their idea, and trying to recruit a technical co-founder.
Ah, the mythical unicorn engineer who would agree to write the code in exchange for equity.
Exactly. The technical co-founder was the ultimate bottleneck. Without them, the idea literally died on a whiteboard.
But Christina notes that this frantic search for a technical partner is evaporating.
Evaporating completely. The students are no longer waiting for permission or a partnership to build. They're simply building the prototypes themselves.
Often over their short winter breaks, which is staggering to think about. Over a few weeks of vacation, an MBA student with absolutely zero formal background in computer science or software engineering is using AI-assisted coding tools like Cursor or GitHub Copilot to build a fully functional prototype.
They are generating the front-end design, structuring the back-end database, launching a live product,
and getting it into the hands of design partners and securing paid pilots by the summer semester. The compression of time from idea to functional product is just breathtaking.
And this compression of time, coupled with the dramatic collapse in the financial costs required to build that initial version 1.0, is triggering an existential crisis within early-stage venture capital.
Let's look at the structural math of VC for a second.
Yeah, let's break it down. Previously, if a founder needed $500,000 in a pre-seed round just to hire a small team of engineers and rent server space to build a minimum viable product, they were forced to go to institutional venture capitalists.
They had to play the VC game and give up a massive chunk of their equity before they ever made a single dollar of revenue.
Now, if that same founder can build the functional product themselves over winter break for the cost of a few API subscriptions and cloud hosting fees, their capital requirements plummet.
They don't need the $500,000 anymore.
No, they might only need $50,000 or $100,000 to bridge the gap to actual sustainable revenue.
And they can easily raise that smaller amount from friends, family, or individual angel investors, like Christina herself.
Yes, she mentioned she is actively angel investing in these students, and she loves this new dynamic because the founders retain their ownership.
So the early-stage institutional VCs are finding themselves totally disintermediated. The founders simply do not need their massive checks to overcome the initial execution risk.
But it goes deeper than just who writes the check. This fundamentally changes the definition of that third classic VC question we discussed earlier.
Is it big enough?
Exactly. Institutional VCs operate on a strict power law. Because 90% of the startups they fund will fail completely, the few that succeed must be capable of generating 100x returns.
They need unicorns.
They need a company to have the potential to become a billion-dollar unicorn, or it simply isn't worth the risk profile of the fund. So, is it big enough? Historically meant, is this a multi-billion-dollar total addressable market?
But if a founder doesn't take VC money, they are freed from the tyranny of that power law.
Exactly.
They don't have to build a hyper-growth unicorn that either conquers the world or explodes trying. They can use AI to build a highly profitable, sustainable business generating $10 or $50 million a year in revenue.
And that level of success is a rounding error for a mega fund VC, but it represents generational, life-changing wealth for a founder who retained 80% of their equity.
AI is allowing a whole generation of builders to opt out of the venture capital hamster wheel entirely. They're building incredibly lucrative businesses on their own terms.
And this brings us to perhaps the most fascinating insight from Christina's entire interview.
Okay, what's that?
Because the execution is now so cheap, and because founders are no longer forced to chase massive mainstream consumer markets to satisfy VC requirements, what kinds of businesses are these brilliant HBS students actually choosing to build?
Well, they're not building the next slick consumer social media app.
No, they're not trying to build the next Instagram or TikTok.
No, they're leaning into their proprietary insight to build what Christina affectionately calls deeply, wonderfully unsexy businesses.
Oh, I love the example she gave for this.
The surgical grain. It is absolutely burned into my brain.
Tell it.
There is a student in her program who is a joint MD MBA. So a medical doctor simultaneously getting a business degree.
Super smart.
This student leveraged AI tools to build a company that manufactures highly specialized surgical drains for postoperative patients.
Wow.
Literally, a physical medical device designed to help surgical wounds drain pus more effectively.
It is visceral, it is incredibly unglamorous, and it represents a brilliantly defensible business model.
It is the ultimate moat. No 22-year-old tech bro sitting in a coffee shop in San Francisco is going to wake up one morning and declare, you know what industry I am going to disrupt today? Postoperative pus drainage?
No, they are not.
You cannot simply prompt an LLM to invent a medical device if you don't understand the problem. You have to possess the proprietary insight. You have to have stood in a sterilized operating room for 12 hours, watched a legacy drain fail, and understood the exact biological and mechanical friction points of the problem.
Furthermore, you have to possess the relational capital and the industry credibility to navigate the FDA compliance boards and convince hospital procurement committees to actually purchase the device.
The execution phase, using AI to rapidly draft the complex regulatory paperwork, utilizing AI-assisted CAD software to iterate the physical design specs, synthesizing thousands of pages of material science journals to find the right polymer, was previously the massive hurdle preventing that doctor from starting the business.
But now that AI has reduced the execution cost to zero, the domain experts embedded in these hyper-niche, heavily regulated, profoundly unsexy industries are being unleashed.
whether it is enterprise plumbing logistics, maritime GPS calibration, or industrial pipe engineering. The more specific, complex, and boring the problem, the larger the opportunity.
Generic AI models lack the real-world context to solve these problems independently. They require the T-shaped expert to guide them.
It is an incredibly inspiring vision of the future, but we have to introduce a dose of reality here and look at the ceiling of this solo operator model.
Right, because it's not all sunshine and roses.
No. We have spent the last hour marveling at Brett scaling his solo consultancy to match a firm, and MBA students building apps single-handedly over winter break. It is very easy to get swept up in the Silicon Valley hype that we are entering an inevitable era of billion-dollar one-person companies.
Sam Altman and other AI leaders talk about this constantly.
They do. But Christina offered a deeply sobering warning about the physical and structural limits of the solopreneur model.
She drew a very sharp, necessary line between digital consumer businesses and B2B enterprise businesses.
Okay, let's explore that line.
If you are building a simple consumer software tool, a mobile app, or operating as an independent consultant like Brett, you can absolutely scale that solo using AI architectures.
Right.
However, if your ambition is to sell mission-critical software or hardware to Fortune 500 companies, a solo company will hit a very hard, very fast ceiling.
Because at the enterprise level, you are no longer just selling code. You are selling trust.
Precisely.
Right.
An AI agent cannot close a relationship-based, high-stakes enterprise deal.
Right. When a Fortune 500 chief information officer is deciding whether to rip out their legacy infrastructure and install your software, they expect to look a human being in the eye across a boardroom table.
They need to shake a hand and know that if something goes catastrophically wrong with the deployment, there's a real, accountable human being on the hook.
And on a purely operational level, Christina points out the nightmare of enterprise support. If you sign an enterprise service level agreement, an SLA, that legally guarantees 99.9% uptime for your software, and the server architecture crashes at 3 a.m. on a holiday weekend,
The AI agent cannot answer the emergency pager.
you are the one answering the pager. You are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever.
There is no shift rotation. There is no team to delegate the crisis to. You can never safely go on vacation or turn off your phone.
Artificial intelligence can write the deployment code, and it can monitor the server logs, but it cannot shoulder legal liability. It cannot go to court, and it cannot provide the human reassurance a panic executive demands.
There are hard physical, legal, and emotional limits to what a single human being can sustainably maintain at an enterprise scale, no matter how many AI agents they command.
That structural reality makes me wonder about the long-term landscape of the economy.
In what way?
Well, if the cost of building digital software goes effectively to zero, and anyone can spin up a functional app in an afternoon, does that mean the only businesses left standing in a decade? The only businesses with actual defensible financial value will be pushed to the extreme edges?
What do you mean by extreme edges?
Like, will we only value hyper-physical businesses that manipulate atoms, like construction, heavy manufacturing, and plumbing, because AI can't swing a hammer?
Right.
Or hyper-relational businesses that require complex human trust, handshakes, and liability?
Right.
Is the purely digital software middle just going to be completely hollowed out and commoditized?
It is one of the most profound questions we face right now. And based on Christina's insights and the trajectory of these models, the digital middle will certainly still exist, but its standalone value will approach zero.
It will be utterly commoditized.
Exactly. The premium economic value will absolutely migrate to the extreme edges you just described. The physical world will retain massive value because robotics and physical actuation are progressing far slower than digital intelligence.
It's hard to build a robot that can fix a sink.
Very hard. And the deeply relational, high-stakes human world will retain value because trust, empathy, and accountability are the actual products being sold. The software itself simply becomes the invisible zero-cost plumbing that facilitates those physical or relational transactions.
The software is just the tool you use to deliver the value. It's no longer the business itself.
Exactly.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with the death of the execution is everything mantra, moved into the mechanics of the M-shaped manager and Brett's layered AI prompts, and explored the rise of the unsexy business and the limits of the solo enterprise.
A lot to digest.
Let's bring this all directly back to you, the listener. How do you actually survive and, more importantly, thrive in this shifting landscape?
The core thesis we've developed today is that you need judgment to orchestrate these tools.
But judgment is a somewhat abstract concept.
Yeah.
How do you actually build this highly prized M-shaped muscle.
Christina's advice on this front is incredibly practical and accessible. She stresses that you cannot build AI judgment by reading academic papers about it or even by just listening to deep dive discussions about it.
Right.
You only build it through the friction of doing. She calls it starting the judgment loop. And the beauty of this is that you do not have to quit your day job or risk your career to start building it.
You just have to become the entrepreneur of your own life.
You start by building something incredibly small, highly personal, and entirely low stakes. Build a custom AI agent to manage your family's weekly dinner recipes and grocery lists.
Or build an automated system to track the logistical nightmare of coordinating your kids' overlapping summer camp schedules and medical forms.
I know a lot of parents who would gladly pay a premium subscription for that summer camp AI alone.
Undoubtedly. But the end product isn't the point. The process is the point.
Exactly. By building these small tools, you are forcing yourself to go through the architectural motions. You have to scope out the project. You have to think like a systems engineer.
What specific data does the large language model need to access? How do you structure the layered prompt? What does a successful, accurate output actually look like?
And most crucially, what are the edge cases where the AI hallucinates or fails? And how do you refine the prompt to correct it? By iterating through those failures, you are actively exercising that M-shaped management muscle in a safe environment.
And she highlighted something really comforting about this experimental process. When you first start building these little projects and putting them out into the world or testing them with your family, you are going to be in what she affectionately calls the crickets phase.
The crickets phase, I love that.
You will launch your little recipe app and you will hear nothing but crickets. No one is watching. No one cares. No tech reporter is writing an article about it.
And she says that obscurity is actually fantastic news.
Yes, it means your inevitable mistakes are completely painless. You can fail, the AI can hallucinate wildly, you can break the code, and you can refine your judgment in total privacy before you ever try to deploy these systems in a high-stakes corporate environment.
It is the ultimate safe sandbox for skill acquisition. However, while we are discussing safety and building personal projects, we must relay a vital, non-negotiable warning from Christina regarding data security.
Oh, this is so important.
This is paramount when you are experimenting with these tools.
Yes. Please hear this clearly. Do not, under any circumstances, put your sensitive, personal data into the free, consumer-facing versions of any AI tool.
Ever.
Do not upload your passport numbers, your family's bank account details, your proprietary company source code, or your client lists into the free tiers of ChatGPT, Claude, or any other model.
It is the oldest rule of the digital economy, updated for the era of artificial intelligence. If the product is free, you are the product.
Right.
When you use those free consumer tiers, you are feeding your data directly into their massive training models. The companies will ingest it, the models will learn from it, and they will potentially spit your sensitive information out in a completely different context to another user down the line.
Which is a nightmare.
If you are doing real work or handling any information you wouldn't post on a public billboard, you must pay for the enterprise or professional versions that carry legal guarantees that your data is walled off and explicitly not used for model training. Basic data security hygiene still applies, perhaps more than ever.
Absolutely crucial. Protect your moat, which fundamentally includes your proprietary data.
Always.
Well, this has been an incredibly dense and rewarding journey. We started with the idea that the old metrics of business value, the resume, the coding languages, the brute execution force, were essentially a broken X-ray machine.
Right.
And I feel like Brett and Christina have given us the blueprints for the new MRI machine. We know exactly what to look for now. Deep proprietary insight, the M-shaped judgment to architect complex solutions, and the willingness to tackle the messy, unsexy problems that AI cannot solve on its own.
It's a whole new world to navigate.
It really is. But I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over as you step back into your day. We've spent this entire time dissecting how artificial intelligence forces us to rely on our unique human edge, our proprietary knowledge, our specific industry experience, our strategic judgment to prompt the machine.
Right.
But if these frontier models continue their exponential scaling, if artificial intelligence eventually learns to simulate strategic thinking flawlessly, if it can synthesize global market data perfectly and architect its own workflows without needing our precise M-shaped stage directions, will the ultimate, absolutely unautomatable skill of the future just be pure, unadulterated human empathy?
Wow.
In a world of perfect zero-cost execution and strategy, will the most valuable, highly paid person in the room simply be the one who can look a terrified client or a stressed-out employee in the eye and say, with genuine human conviction, I've got your back?
When logic and strategy become infinite commodities, human connection may be the only true scarcity left.
Something to think about. Until next time.